We are, of course, zooming ever more quickly towards Avengers Doomsday. And, of course, at Comic-Con coming up in just a few weeks, they're going to be starting the full-blown, full-court press, big marketing campaign and really starting to push this thing. I suspect, as most of you guys do as well, that they're going to finally drop the trailer for Avengers Doomsday and maybe a few other surprises as well. But if you guys watch our show, the other day that we were talking about what happens in Marvel between the events of Avengers Doomsday and in December of 2027 when Avengers Secret Wars comes out. Because as of right now, there is nothing officially, at least on the movie side, coming out. They did have some reserved movie dates that they removed, but that could have been for misdirection. So I started getting a lot of people, guys, over the last 24 hours were writing into me and asking me about, well, what could be coming out? What could be coming out from Marvel between Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars? So there are some things we know for a fact are coming out. There are some things that are rumored. So I thought we would take a little bit of time here, jump into the Campea classroom, and start looking at what things are coming out, what things are rumored to be coming out, what's the likelihood of those things coming out, and go from there. So let's start things off here, shall we? The first thing that we know for fact, so I'll just put the word fact here, Daredevil Season 3. That is something that we 100% know for sure is absolutely coming out. They have already shot the season. The head of Disney Plus and all of Marvel Television and Marvel Animation has already confirmed that we're going to have a new season every single year, which means season 3 is going to come out next year. So we know for a fact that somewhere between Doomsday and Secret Wars, we're going to have Daredevil Season 3. Here's the interesting thing about that. It's going to have nothing to do, Rob, with whatever is going on in Doomsday or Secret Wars. It's going to be kept pretty separate. And I don't even know if they're going to reference anything going on in Doomsday or whatever that's happening there. I think they're going to be keeping it very isolated. They did kind of suggest about a year ago that moving forward, their MCU stuff on Disney Plus was going to be still part of the same universe, but they're going to work to keep it a little bit more insulated and isolated. But it does, like, you haven't heard anything different, have you? Like, we are fully expecting that Daredevil Season 3 comes out in between these two movies.
I think it will. And I mean, I think it might have some tie-in at the very end, only because if they follow the comics, the world ends. The multiverse ends. Battle World is created. Secret Wars happens. I mean, I don't understand. I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't.
Well, it's kind of the same thing about how all the events going on in New York during the events of Thunderbolts, and nothing is cross-referenced with the events going on in New York in Daredevil.
Right.
So, I think they're just going to kind of handle it the same way.
Yeah, it's never bothered me as a longtime comic fan that events in one comic didn't affect events in the other, because, like I think about Los Angeles being such a huge place, and we had that big chemical threat a couple weeks ago that, there was neighborhoods evacuated and things like that. It was a big deal, but it didn't affect us in the least. And so I've always thought of it in those kind of terms, like the events of Thunderbolts were happening, and they really happened in a very quick period of time. Like the Chitauri invasion of New York in Avengers happens pretty quick. People are like, well, where are the X-Men? I'm like, well, by the time they even heard about it, they could have been off doing something else. And by the time, they heard about it, it was over.
It was an afternoon.
Yeah, it's all
in an afternoon.
That to me has always been how I've justified things. But when the world ends, well, then what?
Well, they just ignore it. They just ignore those events. I think that's what they're going to do.
You just pick up and keep moving on, Rob.
It's true. That's, keep calm and carry on, as they say in Britain.
Let's move on to the next thing. Also staying on the aspect of Disney Plus, there's the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 3, because we do have Season 2 coming out prior to Doomsday. This, I'm going to say, is a 75% chance that Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 3 comes out. And I'm going to say it's a 75% chance because again, the head of Marvel's television aspect, I believe his name is Winderbaum, has said that there is going to be a third season of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And he had previously said that Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was going to follow the same pattern as Daredevil. It will have a new season every year. So while we do not have a confirmed release date for Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man season 3, because we haven't even got season 2 yet, it looks likely that they will be planning for that to drop in between season 3 to drop in between Doomsday and Secret Invasion. The other thing is X-Men 97 season 3. This one I'm going to say is a 50% chance, because while they have already confirmed that we are getting an X-Men 97 season 3, I don't know where they are right now. I know work has already begun on it, but we knew they were already well into developing season 2 by the time season 1 even came out. So I'm not 100% sure that we're going to get that season 3 in between Doomsday and Secret Wars. It might come out after Secret Wars, but right now I'm going to say it's probably a 50% chance at least. So there's a good chance I think we're going to get that in between Doomsday and Secret Wars. Another thing, Wonder Man season 2. They've just recently, we thought this was a one-shot. We thought Wonder Man was a one-shot. It was planned as a one-shot. It was executed as a one-shot. But what they weren't expecting was how well the show was going to be received. People loved it. It was great. It was not the show I was expecting, but it was far better than I was expecting. And so they came out and said, you know what? Yeah, we're going to do a season 2. So could season 2 come out in 1997 or 1997 in 2027 between Doomsday and Secret Wars? It is possible. But remember, right now, they don't even have a finished script for that show yet. So it's absolutely possible they could get that locked down and maybe even go into production before December and maybe possibly have it ready to come out before Secret Invasion. But that seems unlikely. So I'm going to give that coming out in between Doomsday and Secret Wars a 15%. Then there's Marvel Zombies season 2. This is one that they've already confirmed they're going to do, but I really haven't heard much about the development of it at all. But it still seems like it coming out in that window between Doomsday and Secret Wars, probably pretty good. I'm going to go 60%. So I think it's more likely that we get it season 2 in that window than X-Men 97, but not totally sure. So we'll say 60%. I didn't love Marvel Zombies, by the way, but it is what it is. So there's that. Now, there have been some rumors, Rob. There have been rumors of Visionquest season 2 coming out in 97. In between Doomsday and Secret Wars. I don't see how they could possibly have Visionquest, a season 2. First of all, even if they were going to do a season 2, I just don't see how it would be possible that they would have that ready to go prior to Secret Wars. What do you think about that? What are the chances we get Visionquest season 2?
Let me say, I don't know anything about a Visionquest season 2, but I think it would be very difficult to get it up and running and get it finished between Doomsday and Secret Wars. I mean, it's not impossible, but, again, if they're doing anything like, you're switching between the human versions of Ultron and I would imagine the Ultron robot, or android or entity, that's a lot of work. And doing 8 episodes, you've got to write those 8 episodes. They've got to be great. And then you have to shoot it, implement it. They shot Visionquest, the first season, in Europe. I mean, that's a lot of work. I don't know if they can get that done.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to go with that. Again, I'm going to say not impossible, but extremely unlikely. Now, I have a feeling we're going to get a Visionquest season 2 because I've heard Visionquest is really quite great. But I kind of believe that we will get one, but I think 5% chance at most that we get that in between Doomsday and Secret Wars. All right. Then there's Hawkeye season 2. You know, of course, we've had Jeremy Renner recently talking about the fact that, yeah, he's totally, like, he talked about some contract disputes they had, but since then, everything's been hand holding and kumbaya. He really wants to do a season 2. He's excited to do a season 2, all that kind of stuff. I just don't see that happening between now and Secret Wars. I don't see how that fits in. Plus, we haven't heard anything about them even being remotely close to doing a season 2 yet, other than the fact that they do want to do one. I just don't think the timing is there. So I don't think we're getting a Hawkeye season 2 in between Doomsday and Secret Wars. Okay. Let's go on to the bigger question that a lot of people have, which is MCU movies. As of right now, as we mentioned earlier, there are no officially confirmed, announced any Marvel films coming out between Doomsday and Secret Wars, but that doesn't mean they're not planning on it. They just haven't told us about it. So what are the possibilities of what those films maybe could theoretically be? Well, I'll start with the obvious one. Doctor Strange 3. Now, obviously the ending of that first Doctor Strange, not the first Doctor Strange, but that second Doctor Strange movie, Rob, Multiverse of Madness, that ended with big inferences of, what's the word? Incursions. It was all about incursions and him disappearing through the thing. And all of a sudden Charlize Theron is there. And all of a sudden he's got a third eye and blah, blah. And we haven't touched on it since. So there have been some talk and some whispers that they have very quietly been developing a Doctor Strange 3 that would be a MCU film to come out. And by the way, they still have like almost a year and a half to do it. Even if they're not shooting the film yet, they could easily go into production within the next couple of months and have a movie ready to come out prior to December of 2027. So I don't know, Rob, what do you think about the chances of a Doctor Strange 3 coming out between Doomsday and Secret Wars?
I think 0, to be honest. I would imagine that we have to have Doctor Strange in some way play a part in Doomsday. I mean, it's really hard for me because I think that when I'm thinking about Doomsday and what it's based on, you know, the original source material, it's kind of a cul-de-sac in terms of, I don't know how you get to the end of Doomsday and not have something new after that, unless it's a prequel, unless it or it took place simultaneously to Doomsday, because Doomsday is pretty definitive. So,
but remember, they can tell these stories out of order chronologically. Remember,
sure,
Ant-Man 2
and Captain Marvel
came out after Infinity War, but the majority of the movie took place before Infinity War.
Yes,
right.
Yes, but the difference, the difference is, how can I put this? Well, you got to read the comics, but with Infinity War, the world, despite the fact Thanos snapped his fingers, you know, you had a flashback, and then that movie ended in a way where there was a cliffhanger that allowed you to be like, oh, okay, you know, something's going to happen. And they tied it in really well in Endgame. And then also Captain Marvel was between Infinity War and Endgame. And Captain Marvel took place in the 90s. So it can be done. I totally agree with you. It can be done. But I think that when people watch Doomsday, what happens in that movie hits a little harder. It leaves you in a place that's different than the place that Infinity War left you in. Let me just say that.
All right. So there's Doctor Strange. There's Doctor Strange. That's one potential. Another potential one that could be, that I've heard some people talking about, and you've seen the talk online too, which is the Shang-Chi 2. I just don't see, now I've seen the reports, I've heard the whispers. I don't see how this is possible, because it's already been confirmed that Destin Daniel Cretton will come back to direct Shang-Chi 2. He is currently directing Spider-Man Brand New Day, and he's going to be working on putting the final touches on that movie and then promoting that movie with no other time to do anything else until that movie comes out. So now I understand why some people have been suggesting that maybe a Shang-Chi 2 could come out in that window because, you know, they've been saying forever that they're absolutely doing it. It's going to come sooner than you think, all that kind of stuff. But I just don't see a possibility. I would say Doctor Strange 3, guys, as a movie that Doomsday happens, right? Then we get a Doctor Strange 3 that takes place before the events of Doomsday, but gives us a lot more information about what we saw in Doomsday and set up for what we're getting later on.
I could see that.
Yeah, I could totally see them doing something like that, giving us fresh perspective on the events of Doomsday, even though it happens before the events of Doomsday. It's like, oh, that's why that happened in that movie. So for Doctor Strange 3, the possibility, I'm going to go as high as 20%. I'm going to give it as high as a 1 out of 5 chance that happens. Shang-Chi 2, I'm not going to say 0, but I can't go any higher than 5%. I just don't see it. Guys, do either of you have any other potential Marvel projects that could theoretically come out between Doomsday and Secret Wars?
I mean, if you're talking like Rob mentioned with Captain Marvel's a flashback movie, you can go anywhere. But then again, even that was a purpose, because at the end of Infinity War, it was like she was on that pager after the snap.
Yeah.
So I mean, it still has to be someone that narratively fits. I just don't see, unless this is the greatest kept secret and they've just been leaking Doomsday things so that we don't realize there's some other movie happening, how they're doing this. And they're also going to get it like marketed and timed just right, that in a year from now we get a movie. That will be a feat unto itself.
I mean, you know, I used to joke, John, that they were going to split Doomsday into 2 movies, or they're going to split Secret Wars into 2 movies. And they could easily, under the cover of Doomsday, because it's so big and it has so many cast members, you could easily film something else during that time if you wanted to. If the NDAs with the cast and crew and shooting in Europe, everything is sequestered away. And if that were the case, I would say that the obvious candidate, the thing that I think would most tie into Doomsday, would be Doctor Strange 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
he's dealing with incursions.
I think they could get away with having made that movie in secret, because I would imagine that he has to be a part of Doomsday. And there might even be, you might even be able to make a movie, Doctor Strange 3. I wouldn't put it past, if you made Doctor Strange 3, you could make a movie about Doctor Strange encountering Doom and dealing with him
that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Pre-Doomsday, and it would explain certain things that are in Doomsday that we're going to be going, if things that pan out, going, well, how did this happen? And you could easily make that movie under the guise of shooting Doomsday.
Well, guys, look at this list. We've got so what we know for a fact is coming out between Secret Wars and Doomsday. We got Daredevil season 3. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is really most likely, because they've already announced it and they said it would come out 1 a year. That would mean, ergo, even though they haven't announced a date, that we should assume it's going to come out in that window as well. X-Men 97, I also think there's a good chance. You know, I should change that 50% to 60, because I think it's more likely than not that it will as well. Wonder Man season 2 is possible, but I only give that 15% chance. Marvel Zombies 2, they've announced it. I don't think it's coming out this year. So next year in between Doomsday and Secret Wars does seem more plausible. Despite the rumors of a Visionquest season 2, I just don't see how they would have that done between now and then. And probably 0% chance on Hawkeye season 2. On the movie front, I think Doctor Strange has a shot. I think there's a chance, a possibility, if you will, that we will get a Doctor Strange 3 secretly made and put out in that window there. Not likely, only 20% chance, but I'll give it at least 20%. And the other whispers that we had about a Shang-Chi 2, I'm not going to say it's completely impossible, but it seems unlikely. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? We know what is absolutely coming out in that window, but we talked about some of the possibilities of the other ones as well. What other DC or MCU projects do you think could have a chance of actually very quietly being put out between the events of Doomsday and Secret Wars? Whatever you guys think those are, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. Guys, we want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's video, Hims. You know, one of the hardest things about trying to lose weight is just figuring out what actually works. Because we've seen them all. There are a million trends, diets, and gimmicks out there, and honestly, it can get overwhelming. And that's why weight loss by Hims really stands out. Hims now offers access to an affordable range of FDA-approved GLP-1 medications, including the Wegovy pill at its lowest price ever, and the Wegovy pen. With Wegovy at Hims, lose up to 20% or more of your body weight when combined with diet and exercise. It helps you regulate your appetite and eat less, so success is within reach. Plus, Wegovy is the first ever and only GLP-1 available in a pill for weight loss, so there are no needles needed. And the process is extremely convenient. Everything happens online. You connect with a licensed provider who determines if treatment is right for you, and if prescribed, your medication gets delivered right to your door. No insurance necessary. Ready to reach your goals? Visit hims.com/Campea to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's HIMS.com/Campea. hims.com/Campea. Based on advertised cash price for 30-day supply of medication only. Membership required, fee not included, and billed separately. Weight loss by Hims is not available in all 50 states. Wegovy is the registered trademark of Novo Nordisk A.S. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, Wegovy clinical study information, and restrictions, visit hims.com.